Gentlemen, this is our first lesson of Module 20 for the Renaissance, okay? We're starting right here. This is the student textbook. We're on page 716. Make sure you understand the big ideas and main ideas. One of the first things I want to talk about is trade. Trade is going to be instrumental in bringing the Renaissance to Europe, okay? Now, the Renaissance is a time period after the Middle Ages. It does start up a little bit towards the end of the Middle Ages, but it's going to be trade mainly with Asia that is going to bring Europe out of the Middle Ages and into this Renaissance time period. This Renaissance time period is roughly lasting about 350 years, from about the mid 1200s till about the 1600s. Some of the hallmarks of it, though, trade. So, some things that were traded, of course, were exotic spices, silk, other clothing materials, and some other goods. But another thing that was traded was disease. Okay, the Black Death is going to come to Europe through Italy kind of after the Crusades and when trading starts up again between Europe and Asia. Now, we've talked about the Black Death, so we don't need to go into detail here. But the Black Death, not only the tragic part of killing so many people in Europe, it also does lead to Europeans being able to come out of the Middle Ages stronger, those that survived, because the Black Death does not damage buildings and ships and machines and money and crops and things like that. It really just affected the people. So those that did survive, they now have access to a lot more opportunities once the Black Death has occurred. And these people that are left over, what they're going to be able to do is take the farms and take the machineries and the ships and things like that, and they're going to be able to expand the economy of Europe. One of the big things is that there's now less people for all the goods and food and things like that that are being used there in Europe. It actually causes the price of things to go down. And if the price of things go down, it allows people more access to these goods, and they're able to buy more products. And once they get a taste of some of these finer things like food and clothing, they want more of it. And that's going to lead to merchants and traders going out looking for new products other places in the world, and that's going to lead them to China mainly, which is thousands of miles away, having to go through mountains and deserts and things like that. What's going to happen is initially the merchants and traders, they're going to use the old Silk Road. Now, the Silk Road was something from the ancient times, but it had been closed down basically to the Europeans for almost 1,000 years after the fall of the Roman Empire. It's going to be reopened around this time when the Mongols, this is your Genghis Khans and Kublai Khans, take over China. They're going to actually open up that Silk Road again, this trade network between Europe and Asia. And the way they do this is they actually provide protection for the travelers and things like that along the Silk Road. One of these travelers, of course, is going to be Marco Polo and his family. And this is kind of where we get a lot of our information about this time period, is Marco Polo is going to go over to China with his family, and he's going to spend about 20 years over there in that area. At some point, he's even a government official in the Mongol Empire there under Kublai Khan. He's going to see many things that amazed him at that time, one of them just being paper money, something we take for granted. He's going to see coal being used. Now, charcoal was something that was already being used, but this hardened element, coal, this black stone that burns hotter, burns longer than charcoal. It amazes Marco Polo and others, and he's going to bring that black stone back to Europe with him, and it's going to revolutionize the way Europeans, energize their economy, moving away from wood and into this coal. We still use coal primarily for producing electricity in this country today. More electricity is produced by coal in our country than by any other method. Okay, so it's very good to know about Marco Polo. You can even look at this map here and see his routes. You can see the Silk Road and things like that. Here's a little bit of a biography about him. He was Italian from Venice, and that's where the Renaissance is going to start. Italy was a perfect place for the Renaissance to start because Crusaders, when they left to go to the Middle East, they would leave from Italy, and when they returned from the Middle East, they would return to Italy. So that's why Renaissance is really going to start in Italy. Something we need to talk about also is just the trade cities themselves in Italy. because you have these people in Europe, all throughout Europe, wanting all these new products, trade cities are going to be set up in Italy. There are 4 main trade cities that you need to know about: Florence, Genoa, Milan, and Venice. And they're all unique. They all specialize in something different within the economy, which makes the economy even stronger. Okay? And what we can do is kind of, give a definition for trading centers as cities that were bustling with activity. Okay, there were shopping centers all over the thing with beautiful goods from Asia, and it brought people from other parts of Europe down into these cities in Europe. Now, most of these cities, actually all of these cities, were located in northern Italy. Okay, so they were not down by Rome, and Rome is not one of these cities that are listed here. So you can see they're very important. You have Venice and Genoa. They're on their main port cities, which means they are right on the water. These would be the 2 places that the traders would first come to, bringing spices and other luxuries from Asia. And then merchants would ship them to all areas of Europe. Cities like Venice, they're well positioned to end up kind of being the, how would you say, the gate to Europe for the Asian goods and things like that. More than goods are exchanged, though, also. Cultures are exchanged. Okay, so it's not just products, it's also ideas. And that's really what gets the Renaissance going, is this infusion of new ideas, new ways of doing things that is going to propel Europe out of the Middle Ages and into this Renaissance time period, of which Renaissance means rebirth. And it's a rebirth of, education, an emphasis on educating the mind and the body, an emphasis on the arts like theater and painting and sculpting and writing, those types of things. Right here, of course, are your 4 main cities. You can read a little bit about them here. Florence is going to be a main one that we talk about with banking. Florence is one that really gets, synonymous with the Medici family, Cosimo Medici, and how they're going to use the banking system to really fund all these other cities too. So all these cities and traders and merchants, they're going to come to Florence for loans, and that's where Florence becomes very rich and successful, is through the banking system. At first, it was just a center for weaving wool. It's going to eventually become a center for the bankers. Okay, and that's something that we need to understand about these cities. They're like separate countries. Okay, and they rival each other too. But that rivalry is what really ignites the Renaissance, because they're competing against each other, not only for power, but for wealth and to find new ways of doing things. Okay, now it's these single rich merchant families. They're the ones that really control the government. So it's these rich traders that control the governments in these cities or these city-states. This type of government, as you can see here, is called a signoria. A signoria. Okay, and the head of the family is the signore. Now, in Florence, for example, we'll sit here, it's Cosimo Medici that is basically the signore, the Medici family. They were the greatest bankers of that time period. And what they do is they charge interest, of course, just like today. It's exactly like our banking system today. Banks make money. How do they make money? You deposit your money into the bank. They're going to take your money and they're going to loan it out to other people to create businesses or to buy things, and they're going to charge those other people interest for loan or for borrowing that money from them. And then they're going to take a little bit of that interest and they're going to give it to you for depositing that money in there, and they're going to keep the rest. And that's how bankers become rich also. Right? And the Medici family, they are the best at this. And here we are in the mid-1400s. Now, not only are they out for money, they want to make Florence the most beautiful city in the world, kind of like the Babylon of the ancient era and stuff like that. Plus, Cosimo, he also wants an educated society, because he needs people that are educated in math and personal skills and things like that to run his banks. So that's why education is going to be emphasized also. And you can take a look at all the things that are going on just in this little city of Florence. Okay, but like I said, he values education, especially math. He has libraries that are built for the public to improve education. He wants the finest Italian art throughout his city, literature and culture, whatever it is, he wants it in Florence. But that's going to lead to those that are in Genoa and Milan and Venice and other city-states throughout Italy to actually want to do that for their cities too, because they want to be compared to Florence, or they want to even be seen as better than Florence. And that becomes the beginnings of our Renaissance. Okay? The Renaissance doesn't begin on one day. It's kind of just a progression where it kind of starts with Marco Polo in the 1270s, wanting to go out there and search for new goods because the Crusaders had brought these new goods back with them. And then it leads to so many more people after the Black Death wanting to just, I guess just break away from all that tragedy, and they want to return back to a time period that they've heard about was so great, the ancient Roman times and the ancient Greek times. And it's going to lead people just to go out and want to do what the ancient Romans and Greeks did. And they're going to learn and be educated and make fine art and things like that, and that's kind of going to be the part of the Renaissance. Okay? All right, so changes in Italy led to the beginning of an era called the Renaissance. In our next lesson, we'll learn about some of these people that were very instrumental in the Renaissance. So thank you guys for listening to this video. If you have any questions, please ask.